Alma, wow, that was very courageous what you did with UC Santa Cruz, and I'm just jealous that I'm not in one of your classes. You sound like an awesome and dynamic professor. So you spoke a little bit about Teatro Campesino. Can you give us a little background of how you got started there and what that experience was like for you?
So I was they were looking for people. A friend of mine was in the company, said, Alma, El Teatro Campesino is looking, you should audition. Well, I had seen El Teatro Campesino at Whittier College. And my jaw dropped. I had never seen Chicano theater. Who are they? What? It's like, we connected. This is what I want to do, but I was already going to Mexico City to study with the conservatory. So when they said they're looking for someone, I was there. So I borrowed the VW van. We had like an orange VW van. I drove to San Juan and I got cast. 4 months in Europe, phenomenal. I've been to Europe like dozens of times now, but nothing like that time. 4 months, touring, bus and truck, selling records, putting on this, putting up the set, makeup, doing a show, taking your makeup off, selling records, taking the set down, loading in the truck and going to Florida, going to Italy or wherever we went. Phenomenal. And that's where I belong. That's it. As soon as I found out I am a Chicana, I am an American of Mexican descent, and this is my identity, everything fell into place, everything. So what happened was, after that, Luis cast me in Zoot Suit.
Awesome.
So I got the female lead in Zoot Suit, the Aquarius Theater, when they moved to the Aquarius, because I had already been acting all those years. But I finally found my community, so when they met me, I was ready to go. Now, a lot of people are very happy about that because I came out of nowhere, you know.
Yeah. The awesome opportunity. It seems like you jumped on opportunities. That's such a good takeaway for everyone to do. And you were able to find who you were. Did you feel like there were still points where you were being discriminated against, even with working with this group?
So in the business, it's really, I compare it to basically the industry throws you a bone. We're looking for a person of color. I remember going to auditions, and this was their person of color audition. There was Black women, Latina, and Asian. All of us for one role. So I remember so many auditions like that. So consequently, what they do is, this is part of the issue, how by not diversifying, they're creating the tensions in between our communities of color. The system is creating it because they throw one bone and they go fight over it.
Right.
And our community, Latino, there's so few roles, they say, okay, here's a role, and we fight for it. And I got, you know, all of us have had our opportunity, but I had really good opportunities. So it causes an animosity, a hostility. I mean, literally to the point when I did Zoot Suit, an important scene's coming up, and there's a scene where we throw confetti, and literally, this actress literally threw it in my face, and it got in my eye, and yeah. And then the same person was like, well, I got the role because I was sleeping around with blah, blah. I mean, and trust me, I had never been in this community before, and I was so excited, right? It's like, oh my God. And then this happens.
Right.
So I was really hurt for a long time, because it wasn't the only thing, but then I realized, what it is there aren't that many roles.
Yeah.
And for some reason, these people are thinking that I must be doing something, that it isn't my talent, my preparation, my years of going to school. I must be doing something else to get me the jobs, because they're not getting them. It took me a while to get, so there came a time I just separated myself, you know, but there's something else I did too, but it took me a while because it was hurtful to me. You know, it was hurtful to me because I thought it was my community in that regard, but the business creates that. You see what I'm saying? They create that tension.
Yeah.
And with, like I told you, one job, Black, Latino, Asian.
Right.
It's like that one bone and one job. That's like a metaphor, I think, for the whole industry. So yeah, my very first film, major sexual harassment back in 1980. I think I did that before Zoot Suit, this film. The producer, lead actor wouldn't leave me alone. It's those looks, it's the... you know, yeah. They don't see you. They just see this body. But he was the star and the producer. He lured me into, I go, I don't want, he goes, we have to rehearse. I go, well, let's rehearse during the day. Because it was in a location on a cabin. His cabin was way far away. Dirt roads. It was a national park. And I go, can we please rehearse? I didn't feel comfortable. And again, on a set, we didn't have anyone to, mostly men. So I said, let's rehearse. He goes, no, at night. And I go, I really don't want to. He goes, are you afraid of me? I go, yeah. I said, yes. He goes, ah, ha, 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 ha. We have to rehearse. So I remember going in, it was at night, and in the room was the head of sound and a couple other people on the crew. I go, great, I'm not alone, right? And then the producer actor goes, well, let's rehearse in this other room. I go, okay. Well, we went into the bedroom, it was a bedroom, but everybody was there, and then they got up and left and didn't say a word. So the tension of the harassment, then they left, and what they think we're going to be doing, I could feel it, that what they think we're going to be doing, because I was just like with this tension. So we were sitting there, twin beds, he was on one side, I was the other, and he pulls out a guitar. We're here to rehearse. You know, I fell in love. I love Latino women. You know, I go, and finally, I go, you know, I don't know what you're here for. I came here to rehearse. He looks at me and he says, you Mexican women are all the same. Now, what does that mean? Think about it. What it means for him and what it means for me. For him, probably that we're not, you know, easy. And for me, it's incredibly offensive. Because he's lumping me together with God knows who. He gets up to leave. I get up. I grab him. I turn him around. I grab the front of his shirt and I shove him against the wall. And I'm like, you mother. And I just throw you mother. All I remember is him kind of going like this, looking down at me, going,
Yeah.
And I walked out, and I just walking.
Yeah.
And remember, we're like 3 to 5 miles from base camp. There's no lights. All I see is the base camp way far away, and the moon. And I'm walking, come back, Alma, come back. And I'm walking. No way. I'd rather walk through than go back there. So that was the first feature film I ever did. Yeah. And remember the first play I ever did?
Yes.
So maybe, I keep thinking, is it me? Is it like, okay, what am I, what is it? Maybe we need first generation counselors in film. You know what I'm saying? Someone to kind of introduce us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Women like, this is what a protocol should be.
Yeah.
They have it now. Every time I call SAG, if you have been, this is the first thing, if this is an emergency, you've been sexually harassed, or dial this. That's the first thing on the phones now. The first thing. So anyway, but I have to tell you, I learned, because it's happened again, but I knew how to deal with it. I used humor. Oh God, you don't. Remember, a lunch with a producer, let's have lunch, sure. We were talking, you know, about projects, and he goes, you know, let's go fuck. That's what he said over lunch, like a restaurant. Let's go fuck. And I went, you don't want to do that. He goes, I just broke up with my boyfriend. I'm going to start crying. I'm going to get mascara all over your sheets. It's going to be a mess. You don't want to do that. He goes, yeah, you're right. Yeah. I just broke up. You don't want to do that. Okay.
Wow.
Get the idea? Humor.
Yeah.
And then, you know, and de-escalating, and because I saw it coming. So, but overall, the career, really, I'm blessed.
I would say it on and off camera. You are a powerhouse and you're an inspiration, and you've had to deal with a lot. You had to take a lot of opportunities, and you just went for it. And this is sad, but this is all things that are still happening today. Yeah. So say there were someone watching this right now, a woman of color, who is dealing with this same exact struggle of not knowing how to stand up for themselves in this industry. What would be your key advice for them to deal with these things?
So as far as advice to everyone who's listening, who's going to watch this podcast, you're not alone. And you're going to be made to feel like you're gaslit, like you're crazy. You misunderstood. You didn't. Because if someone says you misunderstood, they're denying your voice. They're denying your perspective. You must be mistaken. So you have to remember that's whenever anyone denies anything you felt or said or heard, That's wrong. And you have the right to say, you're denying my opinion. So I respectfully ask that you not do that. This is my experience. Now, you're not alone. So you've got to have people you talk to. Every Friday now, I've got my Zoom meetings. I talk with my friends, I talk with, and we're on speed dial for Zoom. Something happens, we talk to each other. You've got to have a backup support. That's why I left Santa Cruz. I felt I had no support. So it's like you got to be strategic about this, because you may not have backup. The Academy, I've helped now, I got another person in. Latino, queer, Native American. I've gotten 10 people into the Academy. I can only vote for one, but I call them and say, hey, you got phenomenal credentials. Have you thought, well, I thought they weren't hiring people of color. They weren't, no. And it's hard, isn't it hard? No. Today I've got my 10th one, like a month ago. So that's what I'm doing too. So ladies and gentlemen, I don't do it alone. I've got people that I call and say, hey, I got you in the Academy, can you back this person? So you got to create other groups, other strategies, other energies. And there are people out there who do that, who are doing that. So you got to find those people. And again, they're not people of color necessarily, because it isn't about color. It really isn't. It's about people who are just open and loving and bring in energy, not have blocks. That's what I teach in acting. Circles of energy, Patsy Rodenberg. One energy is me, the world's against me. Other energy is you don't connect, the energy's out there, but then there's a second circle where you're open. It's like you just take everything in, that's second circle. So my point is that you look for other people who think like you. You're not alone, you're not crazy.
You've taught me so many things that I am going to use starting right now as soon as I walk out the door. The last thing I wanted to ask you, is there a quote you take with you everywhere you go that you would share with us?
Bring your own birthday cake. Bring your own birthday cake. I started to do this before I came up with that phrase or that thought. I remember I was on the road. I was doing a play up in San Francisco, and my birthday was coming. And I was away from home, and I wanted to have a celebration. And I had mentioned, it's my birthday. Oh, great. But everybody, everybody has their things going on. Everybody, And I said, I want to celebrate. So I bought myself a birthday cake. And I announced there's cake in the green room. And I think I bought some drinks, and I got candles. And, hey, happy birthday. And everybody got into it, and they sang to me. And I got the birthday I wanted.
Beautiful.
So you bring your own birthday cake.
Yeah.
Bring your own birthday cake. That way you're never disappointed.
Absolutely. We should cheers to that.
Let's cheers to that.
To bring your own birthday cake.
And thank you so much for inviting me. I've had a wonderful time. You're amazing.
Me too. Cheers. Thank you, Dr. Alma Martinez, for all of that wonderful wisdom you shared with us about jumping on opportunities as they come. If anyone would like to join us and sit down and talk to our youth and share their stories with them, please shoot me an email at tiffnankab@gmail.com. Until then, keep spreading positivity.